The First World War, also known as the Great War, was a global conflict that lasted from 1914 to 1918. It was one of the most transformative events of the 20th century, reshaping political boundaries, altering societies, and introducing new technologies of warfare. This story explores the causes, events, and consequences of the First World War, delving into its complex history and enduring impact. Origins of the conflict. The political climate of Europe. By the early 20th century, Europe was a continent marked by intense rivalries among its major powers. Nationalism, militarism, and imperialism fueled tensions, while a web of alliances divided the continent into opposing blocs. The Triple Alliance consisted of Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Italy, while the Triple Entente brought together France. Russia and the United Kingdom died. Europe at this time was a tinderbox of diplomatic and military maneuvers. Nations were not only vying for power within the continent, but also engaging in a race for colonial dominance in Africa, Asia, and the Pacific. This imperial competition exacerbated existing tensions as countries sought to expand their territories and influence. The spark: assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand. The immediate cause of the war was the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, on June 28, 1914, in Sarajevo. A Serbian nationalist, Gavrilo Princip, carried out the assassination as part of a movement seeking independence for Slavic peoples under Austro-Hungarian rule. This event triggered a chain reaction of diplomatic ultimatums and military mobilizations. The assassination highlighted the volatile nature of Balkan politics, where ethnic and nationalistic tensions were at a boiling point. Austria-Hungary's harsh response to Serbia, coupled with the intricate web of alliances, ensured that a localized conflict would escalate into a full-scale war. The domino effect: Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia, prompting Russia to mobilize in defense of its Slavic ally. Germany, bound by its alliance with Austria-Hungary, declared war on Russia and France. When Germany violated Belgium's neutrality to invade France, the United Kingdom entered the war, setting the stage for a global conflict. The escalation was rapid and decisive. Within weeks, what began as a regional dispute had drawn in all the major European powers. The alliance systems, intended as deterrents, instead acted as mechanisms for broadening the conflict. Major theatres of war: the Western Front. The Eastern Front was the primary theatre of war, stretching from the North Sea to Switzerland. By late 1914, the war had devolved into a stalemate of trench warfare. Soldiers endured horrific conditions in trenches, facing constant shelling, disease, and psychological trauma. Major battles like the Somme, Verdun, and Ypres exemplified the immense human cost, with millions of casualties for minimal territorial gains. Life in the trenches was characterized by mud, vermin, and the ever-present threat of enemy attacks. Soldiers spent weeks and months in these conditions, leading to a phenomenon known as shell shock, a precursor to what we now understand as PTSD. The Eastern Front and the Eastern Front, Germany and Austria-Hungary, fought against Russia. Unlike the static nature of the Western Front, battles in the East were more mobile. The Central Powers achieved significant victories, such as the Battle of Tannenberg, but struggled to maintain control over the vast territory. The Eastern Front was marked by large-scale battles and sweeping maneuvers. The harsh climate and vast distances posed additional challenges for both sides, leading to severe logistical difficulties. The war at sea naval power played a crucial role in the war. Germany's U-boat campaign aimed to cut off supplies to Britain, while the Royal Navy imposed a blockade on Germany. Key naval engagements included the Battle of Jutland in 1916, which confirmed British naval supremacy despite heavy losses on both sides. The war at sea also saw the introduction of new naval technologies such as dreadnought battleships and submarines. The unrestricted submarine warfare campaign by Germany, which targeted both military and civilian vessels, was a significant factor in drawing the United States into the conflict. Other fronts, the war extended beyond Europe, with campaigns in the Middle East, Africa, and Asia. The Gallipoli campaign in the Ottoman Empire highlighted the global nature of the conflict, involving troops from Australia, New Zealand, India, and other colonies. The Middle Eastern theatre, in particular, saw significant military campaigns, such as the Arab Revolt against Ottoman rule, which was supported by the British and famously led by T.E. Lawrence, also known as Lawrence of Arabia. Technological and tactical innovations. The First World War was a turning point in military technology and tactics. The introduction of machine guns, tanks, poison gas, and aircraft transformed the nature of warfare, making it more deadly and impersonal. Trench warfare. Defensive systems of trenches, barbed wire, and bunkers dominated the battlefield. Poison gas. First used by Germany in 1915 at Ypres, gas attacks caused severe injuries and psychological terror tanks. Introduced by the British at the Battle of the Somme in 1916, tanks were a response to the challenges of trench warfare. Aircraft. Initially used for reconnaissance, airplanes became tools for bombing and dogfights. Artillery. Advanced artillery, such as the German Big Bertha, caused devastating destruction. These technological advancements led to a new kind of warfare, one that was more industrial and mechanized. The scale of destruction was unprecedented, and the war became known for its high casualty rates and the brutal conditions endured by soldiers. Home front. The war had a profound impact on civilian populations. Governments mobilized economies for total war, directing resources to the military effort. Women entered the workforce in unprecedented numbers, replacing men who had gone to fight. Propaganda campaigns maintained public support for the war, while rationing and shortages became part of daily life. The concept of total war meant that entire societies were mobilized for the war effort. This included the drafting of soldiers, as well as the conversion of industries to produce war materials. Civilian populations were also targeted, with bombings and blockades affecting those far from the front lines. The United States enters the war. The United States initially remained neutral, but a series of events led to its entry into the conflict in 1917. Key factors included Germany's unrestricted submarine warfare, which targeted American ships, and the Zimmermann Telegram, which Germany proposed an alliance with Mexico against the United States. The arrival of American troops provided a significant morale boost to the Allies. The entry of the United States into the war brought fresh resources and manpower to the Allied cause. American troops, known as doughboys, played a crucial role in the final offensives of the war, the end of the war, the Russian Revolution and Treaty of Brest-Litovsk in 1917. The Russian Empire collapsed under the strain of the war. The Bolshevik Revolution led to Russia's withdrawal from the conflict, formalized in the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk in 1918. The withdrawal of Russia from the war allowed Germany to focus its efforts on the Western Front. However, the internal turmoil in Russia had far-reaching consequences, leading to the establishment of the Soviet Union and a shift in the global political landscape. The 100 Days Offensive. In 1918, the Allies launched a series of offensives that broke the German lines. The Central Powers, weakened by exhaustion and internal dissent, could no longer sustain the fight. The 100 Days Offensive saw coordinated attacks by Allied forces, leading to the collapse of German defences. This period was marked by significant gains for the Allies and a rapid push towards victory. Armistice on November 11, 1918, an armistice was signed, bringing the fighting to an end. The terms were harsh for Germany, setting the stage for future conflicts. The armistice marked the end of hostilities, but the formal peace process would take several more months. The conditions imposed on Germany and the redrawing of national boundaries would sow the seeds for future conflicts. Consequences of the war. The Treaty of Versailles. The Treaty of Versailles, signed in 1919, imposed severe reparations on Germany and redrew the map of Europe. The Austro-Hungarian and Ottoman empires were dismantled, and new nations emerged. The treaty placed heavy financial and territorial burdens on Germany, leading to economic hardship and political instability. The disintegration of empires also created new states, often with contentious borders and diverse populations. Human and economic cost. The war claimed over 16 million lives, including soldiers and civilians. Economically, it devastated Europe, leading to widespread poverty and political instability. The human cost of the war was staggering, with entire generations affected by the loss and trauma. Economically, the war led to the depletion of resources and significant debt for many nations. Social changes. The war accelerated social transformations, including women's suffrage movements and the decline of monarchies. The war effort required the mobilization of entire societies, leading to changes in gender roles and greater demands for political representation. The collapse of monarchies in Russia, Germany, and Austria-Hungary also signaled a shift towards republican and democratic forms of government, seeds of future conflict. Consequences of the war. The Treaty of Versailles. The Treaty of Versailles, signed in 1919, imposed severe reparations on Germany and redrew the map of Europe. The Austro-Hungarian and Ottoman empires were dismantled, and new nations emerged. The treaty placed heavy financial and territorial burdens on Germany, leading to economic hardship and political instability. The disintegration of empires also created new states, often with contentious borders and diverse populations. Human and economic cost. The war claimed over 16 million lives, including soldiers and civilians. Economically, it devastated Europe, leading to widespread poverty and political instability. The human cost of the war was staggering, with entire generations affected by the loss and trauma. Economically, the war led to the depletion of resources and significant debt for many nations. Social changes. The war accelerated social transformations, including women's suffrage movements and the decline of monarchies. The war effort required the mobilization of entire societies, leading to changes in gender roles and greater demands for political representation. The collapse of monarchies in Russia, Germany, and Austria-Hungary also signaled a shift towards republican and democratic forms of government. Seeds of future conflict. The punitive terms of the Treaty of Versailles and the unresolved tensions of the war sowed the seeds for the Second World War. The harsh conditions imposed on Germany, coupled with the economic depression of the 1920s and 1930s,